We are one. We are. We are one. We are. We are. And we are love. For we are one. We are, and we are alive. We are. You love me so much more than I could ever know. Your love is deeper than this world will ever show. And all of life's beauty shines around this moment now. The sky and the cliffs, they seem to change my life somehow. And I will never be the same. Will never be the same. Whoa, 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 I will never be the same. Never be the same. Ever again. Well, here I am waiting, Lord, my life is just for you. Please unfold all the plans that you would have me do. And if all the world's just a breath and nothing's here to stay, then all of the love we feel will save us anyway. Will never be the same, will never be the same. Whoa, I will never be the same, will never be the same ever again. never be the same.
Hello and welcome to SDAQ&A. We're season 7, episode 7, and my special guests are Thunder, EJ Thunder, and Colin CMB, the Ambassador. Great to have you guys here, and welcome to the program today. How are you both?
Blessings,
Cold.
bro. Thanks for having us.
Cold.
Yeah, otherwise doing great, my man. How are you? Thanks for having us, brother.
Thank you for being on the program. And it's a special one today. We're going to be paying tribute to Dale Ratzlaff, who, boy, had a huge impact, providing community, inspiration, fellowship with his group called Former Adventist Fellowship. And what was the other one called? Assurance Ministries. And
Yeah, Life Assurance Ministries.
Life Assurance.
And there was Proclamation as well.
Magazine, right.
Yeah. What are all the paired? What does that mean in the comments? Paired.
Those are on my page
that is
there
awesome.
on my YouTube.
So that means people that are watching can pair in and watch on your thing as well and comment as well. Oh, yeah. Thanks for doing that. That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm just checking too. It looks like Facebook is working. Thunder helped me last night and a few others joined in. So if you are watching from Facebook, remember, put your name though in the comment somewhere, because otherwise it just comes up as Facebook user. So for example, someone has said, where is it? Someone has said, hey there, mate. And someone has said, hey there, guys, but we don't know who is saying that. So remember to put your name in the comment there, but it's so good to have Facebook back on here. And here we go. Carl Wagner, Proclamation magazine began later. I have the first issue through to the next 10 years. Now, Carl, you've written a really great tribute that you sent to me, and I'm happy to read it out. But I'd love you to come on and read it yourself. I'll send you the link and come into the waiting room, and when we're ready, we'll bring you on. That'd be great if you'd like to do that. And James and Andres, do you see the YouTube chat, Peter? Yes. So we've got it all working. And
okay.
Now, how I want to kick it off on this Dale Ratzlaff Remembered, born 1936, passed away January 5, I think, this year, 2024. I want to play a little clip, 2 clips. First off, a little plug for Former Adventists, their podcast. I'll just bring it up. And I'm only going to play a few seconds of this one, mainly so that you guys can just jot down, find the link and find it and go and have a listen. I've listened to it already, and it's Colleen Tinker and a couple of others on the program on their podcast. So I'm just going to play a few minutes of that, a few seconds of that, just so you can write it all down and go and find it after the program and listen to the whole program. So let's see how we go with that.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Dale Ratzlaff was the founder of Life Assurance Ministries, and on January 5, Friday, just for us 2 days ago, when we're sitting here, it was 2 days ago, he entered the presence of the Lord after a long illness. And we're remembering him today He's had a huge impact on all of our lives and on so many hundreds of thousands of other Adventists and former Adventists. And we've worked with him for years. So we're going to dedicate this podcast to the memory of Dale. And we have several people who are going to share their memories. And we brought Richard in because Richard is the president of Life Assurance Ministries. And I'd just like to have him say hi to you all.
Hi, you all. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're so glad you're here, Richard. Now, you have been president of Life Assurance Ministries for a number of years. Can you remind us when you moved in?
So, they then chat a little bit about the history of the current guy running things and how he came on board and whatnot. And then they go into some really great memories of Dale Ratzlaff. So I would encourage everyone to find that podcast and have a listen. Now, the next thing I just want to play a couple of minutes of is a video of Dale Ratzlaff himself talking about the investigative, the IJ. And it's the first time I came across him, this particular video, and it had a huge impact on me. I'd left the church already based, I guess the tipping point for me was watching the Antonio no vote. And I'm sitting there with my little baby girl on my lap, and I thought, well, I can't put my name to this anymore, for me personally. But I'd already been questioning the judgment, the investigative. Why can't I say it today? Judgment for many years. And when I watched this video, it really galvanized my decision that it's not just the politics, it's the doctrine that is absolutely cray. So we're going to watch his little presentation of what the investigative judgment is, and I'm not going to then play his answer to it, but I just wanted people to get a feel for his personality, his ability to present material. And then after that, Thunder and I and CMB are going to chat a little bit about memories. Thunder, you actually knew Dale. Colin, had you met him or spoken to him, or?
No, I didn't get a chance to speak with him one-on-one, unfortunately. So all I know from Dale is what everyone has spoken of,
Right.
And what I learned from watching quite a bit of his videos and some interviews and things of that nature, and kind of seeing the fruit.
Yeah, I love it. I definitely want that perspective. And Thunder will talk about your actual connection with him as well. And James has just said, Thunder, I've read your first book, superb, and he's just downloaded volumes 2 and 3. So just a quick reminder there, Thunder has written 3 incredible books. In Plain Sight, is that what it's called?
Hiding in Plain Sight.
Hiding in Plain Sight. Yeah, that's great. And we've got
Thank you
Carl.
very much, James. God bless you.
Yes. I highly recommend everyone immediately after the show go and buy those 3 books. Now, Carl has joined us, so what we might do is play this clip, let Carl read his tribute, and then we'll get into the discussion. And it looks like we've lost Colin for a moment, but that's okay. So here we go. I'm going to play now this other clip. Here we go. Excuse me. And
now we come to pillar number 3.
You guys hear that okay?
This is the central pillar of the Adventist Church, and it is the investigative judgment and the cleansing of the heavenly sanctuary. Now, take a deep breath and listen. I'm going to read to you a summary of this teaching. And by the way, this was the teaching that caused me to leave the church. I have read thousands of pages on it. And I've talked with many Adventist leaders, including Chairman of the Department of Religion and so on this topic. And everybody I talked to in private admitted it was an error, but in public they wouldn't say that. So I'm going to read the summary of it. It's long, it may be boring, but you need to hear it. And every sentence is footnoted, okay? So it's in your books, but you don't need to look at them now. And if you're here and you don't have a book, be sure and put your name on a card, and we'll send one to you. So here we go. Are you ready? I'm going to take a drink of water before we get started here. Okay, here we go. The Seventh-day Adventist doctrine of the cleansing of the heavenly sanctuary and the investigative judgment teaches that at the ascension, Christ entered the outer apartment of the heavenly sanctuary. Now, some of you may not know it had an outer apartment, but anyway, that's what they teach. From that time until 1844, he performed a ministry of intercession and forgiveness analogous to that of the earthly sanctuary's outer apartment. In 1844, Christ entered the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary for the first time. Remember that. To begin a work of investigative judgment. This judgment, listen, deals only with those who have professed to believe in God. The wicked, according to SDA theology, will be investigated and judged during the 1,000 years and executed shortly after the close of the 1,000 years of Revelation 20. The investigative judgment starts with the cases of the dead, reaching clear back to Adam, and reviews the life records of every person who has professed faith in God. Every deed is closely examined. Each succeeding generation is investigated and judged. At some time, none know when, the cases of the dead are completed, and then God moves to the cases of the living. SDAs believe they will not know when their name comes up in judgment. Therefore, it's extremely important that they engage in no frivolous activity or sin. Every sin must be confessed. And as was alluded here tonight, sins which have been forgotten and unconfessed will stand against them in the day of judgment. You wonder why Adventists have fear? Here it is. Their characters must demonstrate perfect obedience to the Ten Commandment law, especially the Sabbath of the Fourth Commandment. Some names in the list of professed believers will be accepted. Others will be rejected. When every person confessing faith in God has come up in review, Jesus, note, then pleads his blood before the Father on behalf of those who are found worthy, and blots out the record of their sins from the book of heaven. Then, not knowing if or when the work of judgment has been completed, the righteous, still in their human state, before the second coming of Christ, will have to live in the sight of God without an intercessor. How's that for fear? This then completes the atonement. Listen carefully. Jesus then takes the sins of God's people and transfers them to Satan, who is represented by the Day of Atonement scapegoat who made atonement, okay? In Leviticus 16, Satan then bears the ultimate responsibility for all the sins he has committed the righteous to commit. He will suffer for these in the lake of fire and then be blotted from existence. So he is the final sin bearer. What Christ did, and Adventists have a whole theory of transfer. That's the whole thesis behind their investigative judgment. The sins are transferred to Christ when we confess it, then he transfers them to the heavenly sanctuary, and then they're transferred to Satan. Okay, that's a transfer thing. Okay, he will suffer for these things in the lake of fire and be blotted from existence. This investigative judgment is conducted before the intelligences of the universe. Okay, now listen carefully. This whole thing that I've been telling you about, what This then vindicates the character of God before all fallen beings, and then everyone will know the immutability of the law of God and the righteous character of God. So they teach that this investigative judgment that I've gone through with you is the very thing that vindicates the character of God. Now,
Yeah, so we could have a full discussion just on that and all the cray-cray that's held in there, but we won't today because I just want people to get a taste of Dale in action. And that was the first video I saw that then took me on a journey down the rabbit hole, and discovered so much more that he had put together, books as well. I think I've got some books behind me there. So I did want to just touch on two quick things there. One I hadn't thought of before, and one I don't understand, and you both might be able to help me with that. First of all, I only just picked this up, I think, this morning when I watched it again. So all those who have professed faith in God or belief in God, they will come under this judgment at the end. And of the group of people that are judged, Adventists teach that there is Jesus, I guess, selects the worthy group and the bad guys are out to pasture. And I didn't realize this, that worthy group is then, Jesus then, once he's chosen them as worthy, he then takes them to the court. He then defends them in front of God. So they've already been split in two. This worthy group then gets another judgment. I'd not noticed that before. Had you guys observed that particular bit of cray-cray?
Yep.
I hadn't picked up on that. I thought what he did was all the ones who professed, there was a judgment, and then he tried to defend that whole bunch. But no, already a little bit of a split there. Ones that he says no, and then he brings the worthy ones and tries to defend them again. Now, this is something I don't understand. I've always wondered this, and while I've got you both here, I'd love your thoughts on it. So they've been passed then. Jesus has presented and defended them, and they are pronounced worthy, and the teaching says that their sins are now blotted out in heaven. But following that, they then have the probation time closing and a short amount of time where Jesus won't stand for them as an intercessor. But didn't he already just stand for them and count them as worthy, and their names were blotted out? What happens after? Is this a third test now that they have to? They've been counted as worthy and their sins are blotted out, but is there another test here where they've got to now stand without the intercessor, so they could still be found wanting again?
And that's what they call Jacob's trouble, that little time period there.
Right.
In between Jesus's leaving the sanctuary in heaven to come here to earth. And
so what's the point
everyone
of that?
is about to pounce on them regarding the Sabbath and the Sunday laws, etc. And so they're in a time of bitter agony, Jacob's trouble. And, they're feeling unworthy and that kind of thing. And if there's one unconfessed sin, and they're going to be lost. And kind of thing.
But they've gone through this judgment where you've been you've professed your faith, but you might be in or out. Then there's another little mini judgment where Jesus selects the worthy of that group, and that their name's blotted out, and God counts them as worthy. You'd think that's the end of it, but no. There's a third trial, even though you've been just judged as worthy. Is this third trial for all the other planets and angels to view? The final test. Right. Now you've been pronounced worthy, you're pure, but can you survive a sinless time period without Jesus as your intercessor? Right. It's just incredible. Like, I mean, the lengths that this doctrine has gone to reverse engineer the mistake they made of 1844 is just incredible. And I've watched that little clip so many times, and every time I watch it, I just come across another thing. And then people try and defend that. How do you defend that? Anyway,
with fear and trembling, I'd
fear and
imagine.
trembling.
Yeah, no, it seems to me like that at that point, when they're able to stand without a mediator, they don't need Jesus anymore, and so the galactic empire is watching from over,
Right.
over yonder. They have their big screens or however, and no one has ever told me how the other people from other worlds can watch us, but they'd have the big screens or whatever, and they're watching people live their lives and running to the hills and such, and I guess it's must-see TV on planet Zordon or whatever. I don't know.
But aren't they already watching that first one where they're being judged, and then they've been divided into worthy or not worthy, and Jesus is defending their case? Are they watching that? And then is Jesus going, okay, I've finally got my team now. They've won, and now we're putting them on the field, and I'm not going to go and help them at all. I think that's what it's saying.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But and again, they're going through agony, as Thunder had mentioned before. But that shows, I think, just taking it seriously for a second, it shows how like you cannot have assurance, even when you pass the investigative judgment. You don't know, you don't know if you're gonna mess up. You don't know that if you stub your toe, if you're trying to go get some water, that and you say a word that you probably shouldn't, that's it. Well, no more intercessor for you. He that's filthy is filthy still. So we're just gonna leave you in the woods by yourself, Peter, when me and Thunder keep trucking,
And,
okay, it's really terrible.
So we will come back, and let's come back in a month or two and have a full discussion about this. And I'm just bringing up, sorry, Arthur and Teresa. Yes, that's what I thought this was about. I see the title Dale Ratzlaff Remembered. That is what we are going to be talking about here on in. And I just wanted to play that video because it just sums up the passion and the way Dale was able to present things. And because it's so powerful, it just got me sidetracked. I apologize for that. So we're back on track. And yes, this program is all about Dale Ratzlaff from here on in, remembering him. And so I'm going to actually bring Carl on now, and he is going to read his tribute, and then we're going to discuss things with Thunder and Colin as well. So Carl, welcome to the program. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I'm doing great. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I don't plan to read the paper. I'm a preacher who doesn't like notes. You have the paper there, Peter. And if anybody wants to read it, you're welcome to share them with it.
I'll upload it into Facebook after.
You have my permission. That's fine.
Awesome.
But I just wanted to share some things. You know about my journey. I was 22 years out of the church because I'm an extreme introvert. Can you tell? And as I was coming back, well, I laugh and joke about that, but I really am an introvert. And of course, this is many years ago. I ran away from my calling. I didn't run away from the church. I ran away from my calling. And when you run away from your calling, you crash and burn. On my way back, I met Dale Ratzlaff because he lived right in my community, just a few miles away from me. What happened is I was working with somebody, and they said, "Hey, my pastor used to be an Adventist pastor," and she's referring to J. Mark Martin. So I went over to Martin's church, and I picked up the materials, and I began studying it. And the following year, I went back to his church. There was like a strip mall converted to a church, and he had opened up a bookstore, a really nice little bookstore. It's closed now. It's not. It's I don't even think it's anything anymore. But anyways, I bought a couple books in there by a guy whom I didn't know, named Dale Ratzlaff, The Cultic Doctrine and the Sabbath in Crisis, which is now Sabbath in Christ. And I read them and made some notes and everything. And then I wrote Dale, and that's how we connected. And I found out he was living here in Glendale, not up in Sedona, where I thought he was. And so I went over to his house, met him, to get a photocopy of the book by Dudley Canwright on the life of Mrs. Ellen G. White, the false prophetess. And so we were having a nice conversation. This was October of '97. And he was telling me about different things, about what was happening there in Glendale, California with Walter Ray and et cetera. And it come down to the end, he just deadpanned me in the face and said, "Goodbye." I'm thinking, did I say something to offend him? I mean, not that it's impossible that I could, but I couldn't think of anything. And we finished up and I left. Well, some years later, I met at his home for a former Adventist meeting. We were there at the table, at the dinner table, about 8 or 10 people. I shared the story about how he kicked me out of his home. And we all got a laugh out of that. And certainly he didn't remember that. He could have been just busy at the time and, needed to carry on with business for the day. But it was just interesting how that worked. I mean, we kept in contact off and on over the years. Last time I talked to him was in 2013. I was leaving ABC work to go to get a full-time job, and he called the ABC to order a current lesson. And then he said, "Hey, Carl," he said, "What's?" Because he knew me. He knew who my name and everything. He says, "Hey, Carl, what's this about the scapegoat?" And we started talking about the scapegoat. And that was, I hope that's not me.
No,
Anyways,
I don't know what that was.
so we come down to the end of it, where we discussed some things, and we finished. We were always cordial. He was a gentleman of gentlemen. Of any of the critics I ever met, he was a true gentleman. And that was the last time I talked to him. And during 2006, Graham Bradford had come out with a book on More Than a Prophet on Ellen White. And he was in town. I had him in town with Alden Thompson doing some Revelation inspiration stuff. And he said, hey, he wanted to meet Dale. So I took him over to Dale's house. And we visited and everything. This is right at the time when Skip McCarty's book came out. What was it called? Ingranted or Ingrained, about the covenant. And he tells us as we come in, he had the book laying on top of his filing cabinet, laid his hand on it. Dale says, how he's going to really take Skip to task on his theology there regarding covenant. Now, this is the time he's really moving into New Covenant theology, which I find amazing because New Covenant theology is generally Calvinistic in its pieces, and yet he wasn't a confirmed Calvinist when I was at his home. We talked about that, and he said he was not a Calvinist. So I found that interesting. But we had a nice meeting, and then he came to our meetings that we had there at the church. We were out there in the gymnasium. And so Dale, we had conversations, meetings and stuff over the number of years that I saw him. And I always saw him on a path similar to my own. We're all on a journey. I'm not his judge. I hope he's not my judge. And if we can talk and respect each other, we can learn from each other. And I think this is the concept of why I like your program, Peter. You can be on the opposite side, but you can say, hey, can't we just talk? And that's how we learn. We don't have to agree with everybody. Look, there's mornings I get up, I don't agree with myself. I'm not going to convince you to agree with me on every little point.
Yeah.
I'm on a journey. I know you are too. And I know that when Jesus comes, thank God, he's not going to give us a theology test.
Yeah.
Unless somebody out there thinks he is. I don't think so. And, we're saved by Christ, not by getting a good grade on our theology. And so this journey with Dale had really been kind of a blessing to me to help me to be able to communicate with people who are not necessarily seeing the issues and things the same way I might. And frankly, Dale had a lot of good things to say where he was right. Like that piece you just did on his view of the sanctuary doctrine. That I can agree with probably 99% of what he just said there. Because we understand that the doctrine did not come to us fully formed. The gospel didn't come to the church fully formed. We had to understand the gospel piece by piece over the years. Anybody who's done the study of the history of the gospel know that. How it moves from ransom theory to satisfaction theory, where moral influence fits in, how the rise of the substitutionary atonement really come in and took its proper place during the Reformation. It was 1,500 years after Jesus. You think the gospel would have been plain and simple right from the beginning. And while it was in many ways, it was still something the church, as in large, the church corporately speaking, struggled with. And the story out of Daniel 7, the judgment, was one of those things we as Adventists need to struggle with and understand it in its proper context. Who's being judged? It was the little horn. It wasn't God's people.
Yeah.
The Bible says those who accept Christ move from death to life. We've already been judged.
Mm.
Our judgment's in Christ. It's in his hands. So this is
Thanks,
why I
Carl.
love doing this kind of stuff. And that's why I had a respect for Dale.
For him. Thank you so much, Carl. And I encourage people to go and check out your ministry as well. If you could put a link to that in the Facebook comments, people can come and check out your own ministry, which is brilliant as well. Thank you. Thanks, Carl, for sharing that. And I'll also put the link, your tribute message. I'll put that in Facebook as well later.
All right. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Carl. See you later.
All right.
See ya.
Adios.
Carl Wagner there. And I really appreciate his thoughts. And I just realized I got Teresa and Arthur's comment wrong before. They weren't saying for us not to get on a side tangent. It was Test the Prophet. Encourage everyone to go and look at Test the Prophet. He was saying to someone in the feed there, this isn't the right stream for some of the childish nonsense. And so Arthur and Teresa were just agreeing with him. Yeah, this is about Dale Ratzlaff, and some of the comments were getting a bit crazy on the side there, as they do. So we could have gone on a tangent there, but we'll save that for another time. So I'm going to start with you, Thunder. Share with us your memories of Dale Ratzlaff.
Yeah, sure. So the fall semester of September 2015, at Northern Caribbean University, that's the Adventist university here in Jamaica, at which I was studying to be an Adventist pastor. I was in my third year, ripping up the classes, almost 4.0 GPA, and the whole 9 yards. Until my world basically just turned upside down when, as I got better with Greek and hermeneutics and research and that kind of thing, and I started to realize a lot of issues with Adventist doctrines and theology, and I was also a conference evangelist as well. And a friend of mine who was also, he was a graduate from there, a pastor, but a brilliant guy too. He used to teach there, and he sent me the book Lying for God, What Adventists Knew and When They Knew It, to just read it and then tell him what I think. He had done this from probably the January or February of that year, and I didn't pick it up till about September, October. And things just started to go crazy. And so I just developed this insatiable thirst and hunger to look into what else has the church gotten wrong, what else have they been lying about, hiding, and all that different kind of stuff. And recall, I'm at the university studying, right? I'm at the university studying. One of the top theology students they have there, Greek tutor, unofficial assistant Greek teacher, which means when the lecturer can't come to class, he asked me to teach class. That's how good I was, right? And a variety of things. And I'm studying these things, reading and imbibing, and just having my world just explode before me. And I began to read a lot of stuff online and watch presentations to see if anyone has addressed or seen these things regarding Adventism as well. And that's how I ended up finding Dale Ratzlaff on YouTube and former Adventist Fellowship. So when I found their videos, I literally went through everything. Instead of doing my research papers and homeworks, because as I delved more, I became uninterested in continuing, with trying to be the best Adventist and the top theology student in the past or whatever thing. Instead of doing research papers and my homework, I'd be binge watching and binge reading Proclamation magazine and Former Adventist Fellowship. And that video you played earlier was one of the first that I watched too, Introduction to Dale, and Mark Martin, and all of that. I mean, it was a crazy period. And so all of this is pent up in me as I discover so much. I started to tease with questions and objections into class. And I just basically jumped from the staunch Adventist evangelist, very smart guy, one of the top theology students, very respected and prominent future in the church, to now the antagonist within a matter of months.
Wow.
Who's asking the hard questions, putting lecturers on the spot, basically giving hell. And lecturers can't respond to me, nor can my peers, because again, of my status and depth of knowledge. And recall that I was the Greek tutor for some of the guys who were in fourth year above me and those who were below. That's how good I was with the language. So you cannot challenge me there. And so by the February of the following year, 2016, I decided that I could not continue. I cannot be an Adventist preacher no more. So I withdrew from the university. The persons who were funding me from the church, my sponsors, I spoke with them, told them to stop, and withdrew, and all of the support, everything, and I just left. So when I left, I did an interview that was aired on national television and also internationally. And it's on YouTube, Leaving Adventism, Embracing the Gospel. And so that basically sent shockwaves across the world. And there was this gentleman who watched it by the name of Delroy Reed. He was very impressed, a good friend of Dale Ratzlaff, to know him personally, chats with him all the time. So he told him to watch it. And Dale did, Colleen Tinker and the folk from Life Assurance Ministries. And they were very impressed. A lot of persons just sought me out on Facebook, befriended me. I saw Arthur and Teresa Beam earlier. A lot of persons just came to support me, this young man, young family, and taking this bold stance. Has lost so much, just rallied around me to support me. And so that's how I eventually got linked up with Dale. And all of these persons, those who had literature, just began to send me. So Arthur and Teresa Beam, for example, sent me their book, It's Okay Not to Be a Seventh-day Adventist. Dr. Terence O'Hare, the Ascendancy of First Day Worship, Sabbath Complete and the Ascendancy of First Day Worship. He sent me that. And Dale Ratzlaff got in touch with me to encourage me and reassure me, etc. And so he also just sent me like a box or two of all the books he had, CDs, etc., for me to have to read and also to share with persons who were also questioning about these things. And so that's how the relationship built with me and Dale. And so every other day, basically, we'd be speaking on the phone, encouraging me and stuff like that. So by the time 2017, following year, after studying so much of former Adventist literature, etc., I was inspired, to write my own book and to tackle certain things, simplify it. By this time, I was also writing with Line for God. And so I tackled Romans 14, Adventism, and Dr. Bakioki on that. And I shared it with Dale, and he thought it was a great idea. And so I told him, I don't have any resource to write a book. I don't know the first step. So he walked me through all of that, and he just essentially took it upon himself to fund the entire project. And so all I had to do was
Wow.
produce the manuscript. He everything out of his pocket, from the cover, paying to get it due, printer, everything he did.
Wow.
And as I went through it, he made critical notes, tweak this here, change this here, got folk to look at it and to endorse it, to make it a beautiful thing. And of course, he did the forward for that as well. So that's what began my writing journey, and essentially being inspired by him as a person, as a friend, to share and also help others where they are struggling with these issues as well. Um, at that time, we didn't have Zoom and all of these technologies. Then there were some churches here that were interested in learning more about Adventism too. And so what Brother Delroy Reed and myself did, along with Dale Ratzlaff, I would be on the phone with them. So like we did like conferences like that. We did a few of them
Right.
where I'd go to the location. I'm the in-person person, and he's on my phone, and I put the phone on speaker and on the microphone, and he's presenting on an Adventist issue or giving a lecture to the congregation about Adventism.
Mm.
And I'm the in person to get the questions and ask him the questions, and he responds to them, and that kind of thing. So we did several of those that were a great blessing to a number of congregations here in Jamaica as well. They were also, very impressed with my story and experience. They featured my story in Proclamation magazine in 2016. I think it was the spring issue. So Colleen worked along with myself, and she edited it. I wrote it, and then she edited it and published that. So that gave me a lot of widespread focus, attention, etc. And so a whole lot of farmers essentially came to my support and aid, etc. So when I did publish the first book, Proclamation advertised it there, and so a whole lot of persons bought it, and Dale would send me boxes of it so that I could sell here, and all of that different stuff. Persons would buy, and he ships it to them. He was a fine gentleman. And I was very much inspired by him. I loved him, respected him, and the writer and author that I am today, a large part of that is credited to Dale Ratzlaff and the
Wow.
Line for God research team: Kerry Wynn, Larry Dean, William Holman, uh, uh, um, uh, what was Martin Clayman. These guys, they helped me out a lot, and to help to refine me, because I was very bulldogish and coarse when I first started out. And so Dave just kind of refined me a bit, and so he was an amazing person. When he fell ill and his bout with cancer, then he came around, was doing well, and then things began to take a turn from there.
Mm.
It wasn't the best news to hear, but he was always surrounded by love, by support, a great community of persons who admire him, respect him, and his legacy will live on. I mean, if I mean, not to brag or make much of myself, but the impact and influence his material has had on my life and his friendship, and just giving me that start and that exposure. And 7 years later, I mean, this is 2016, 7 years later, almost 8 years, and to see how that has blossomed to the quality of material that I was able to produce and to have out there that are blessing so many people. all over the world. You know, it's truly a testament to the great person that he was, and the way his work positively affected and influenced people for the better. And I have no doubt that that will continue. And so his labors, his losses, they were not in vain at all. God used him powerfully. He was a very soft-spoken, gracious person, great sense of humor, very caring, considerate, self-sacrificial. I'm telling you, publishing the first book was expensive. I
Yeah.
wasn't working. I had just left the SDA church and just trying to find my way. I didn't have a dime. Didn't even understand how these things go. All I know is I have a lot of knowledge I can write. And I just did that, and he just took on everything, you know, spent thousands of dollars, you know, hours upon hours of his time to help me bring it to fruition, because he saw that this is going to be a great work that will bless a lot of people one day and continue his legacy, etc. And that's exactly what that has been. And from that first book, then to the Sabbath, what you need to know, and then the three major volumes, you know, they have been a great blessing along with his books, to the point now when persons are suggesting or advising or encouraging people or recommending resources to read to study about Adventism and these issues. My book and Dale Ratzlaff's books, my books and his books are always in the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, they're always among some of the top literature that persons recommend if they want to look into Adventism and the gospel and these sort of issues. And so
Yeah.
he was a great human being. I learned a lot from him, even the selflessness. You know, I do the same. The way that he and the others poured literature into me when I just left. So I have the same policy with my books. When persons contact me from Africa and other parts of the world where they don't have access to Amazon, and the list goes on, and they have
You
gotten
make it available.
tidbits, I send them free PDF copies, and they have been imbibing them. It's the same thing that Dale did with me.
Yeah.
I learned that from him. It's about getting the truths and the facts out there to help people as they struggle with these issues. And persons have been blessed immense. The testimonies have been amazing. You know, they come in, have been amazing with regards to that. And even when as I speak about him in my books, in my videos, persons go look him up and they dig even deeper into the stuff to help them be liberated. So, you know, I honor him. His legacy will live on through so many of us. We thank God for him, because he lost a lot, made a lot of sacrifices, but those have repaid a lot in the souls that he has influenced for the kingdom, and the quality and caliber of person that he was, the gentleman, the Christian, the scholar, the philanthropist, you know, the caring person that he was. And we just want to praise God for him. And we know that even though he's not physically here with us, his work lives on. And the legacy he has started, it will continue to live on, because
Yes.
again,
Yeah.
the works are out there and people will continue to discover them and be helped as they wrestle through these issues. I'm certainly grateful for the impact he's had on my life. You know, has helped
And I,
me stabilize in a lot of ways, and here I am today as God works in my life. So praise God for Dale Ratzlaff, and he was a great man, and his legacy will live on.
that's a wonderful testimony there and tribute. Thank you, Thunder. And I think even more so will his legacy grow and expand, which often is the case after someone does pass. There's an
True.
explosion of interest that then creates momentum that has a tipping point, reaches a tipping point. And I think we're only really just catching a glimpse of what the Proclamation, Life Assurance Ministries, and former Adventist Fellowship is going to do. I think it's going to really take off. So were all your books published by, or did they just publish them and then sell them to you at a cheaper rate? Or like, are your books actually published by the Dale Ratzlaff Ministry publisher, whatever it's called?
No, the first one. So the first book was published by Life Assurance Ministries.
Right.
So he published the first one. But when I wrote the second one, somebody had introduced me to an easier way because I know that it wouldn't be it wouldn't be conscionable to try to burden him with another book, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, financially not that, because the context for me in the situation financially didn't change. But I have all these great ideas and materials I want to put out there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't, go through him this time. And of course, too, the fact that he was having health challenges. And
Yes.
so I didn't put him through the rigor of that. So what I did do is basically get help from Colleen and CME and several others, and help me with the manuscript, reading it, giving critical notes and endorsements and that kind of thing.
Mm.
And I learned that I could do KDP, Kindle Direct Publish.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And so instead of going through a publisher where I'll have to come up with thousands of dollars, which I didn't have, I could self-publish on Amazon, and Amazon would they would publish it, host it on their platform,
Yeah.
sell it, ship it around, and all of that, which
Yeah.
were perfect for me, in my in my limited resource context. And
Yeah.
so I just provide the material, and they do everything else, and then they send me royalties on it. And so from the Sabbath, what you need to know, to the 3 major volumes,
The
they're
hiding in plain sight.
self-published with Amazon. And of course, as I said, the health issues that he started to battle with, and getting weaker, and not
Yes.
as
Yeah.
as strong and able, so I couldn't burden him
Yes. Hiding in plain
with
sight.
this anymore. But of course, I had his support
Thanks,
and all
Tom.
of the others, because I worked with them, got feedbacks from them,
Yeah.
as I did them.
Yeah. So I just got the Truth Led Me Out. I've got several of his books, but they're not behind me. But I do have this one behind me, and it's LAM Publications that your first book would have gone out under.
Right.
So that's one book. But as he set up the publishing company, he then produced other people's works like yours, and this other great
Right.
one, Whitewashed by Sidney Cleveland. And there's another
Yep.
great one called White Out.
Yep, he sent me all of those copies upon copies. I've imbibed all of them and given copies out, and all of those. He used to send me boxes of them and CDs with like those of various teachings that he would have done on the issues to help people who are having questions. And the context we live too. A couple of years ago, these things weren't as access to information wasn't so easy for a lot of people.
Yeah, you had
Jamaica's a developing country, you understand? So, yeah.
Oh, I know. And he had an ability to make people feel really included, but also he had this eye for talent. He saw the talent in you, and he was able to harness it and produce it. He saw the talent in the Cleveland guys. Did I say that right? Sydney Cleveland, the guy that wrote Whiteout, and many people that are involved with his ministries are really talented people. Like, he's got this ability to choose the stable of people.
It's true.
Yeah. So I'm going to come to Colin in a second, but just and we'll come back to you, Thunder, for some closing thoughts as well. But if you were to say to people, look, go and find out about Dale Ratzlaff and his work, where's the first place they should go? Life Assurance Ministries, former Adventist Fellowship. Where's kind of their home base website?
There's a Sabbath thing, correct? Well, from you type up Dale Ratzlaff, all of those will come up. So it depends on the kind of person. To they're audio visual, then go on YouTube.
Yeah.
Go on YouTube and look for Former Adventist Fellowship, and you'll find all of their videos.
Yeah,
especially the major relevant ones. If you like to read Proclamation Magazine, they have tons of issues with solid material.
Yeah.
There you can go through. So it depends on the person.
He's created, like, when I try and let people know about stuff, I'm not good at it. He's great at going, there's plenty of platforms that if you're a seeker, you'll find which conduit to go into. You'll come across Proclamation, or you'll come across Former Adventist, or you'll find him on YouTube. He had a gift of having everything there set up, and then if you seek, you'll find just what's your little we say niche, but you guys say niche.
That's
You'll find it. So yeah, very skilled, talented, unassuming, low key, articulate person that was good at building
very
community.
humble too. Very, very humble.
Yeah. Okay, so just before we come to you, Colin, I'm just going to bring up a few little testimonies and memories on the screen. This was written by Jennifer Quick, and she said a few years ago she ordered one of Dale's books, but mistakenly ordered the Spanish version. And when she contacted Dale, he said, keep it. Maybe someday you'll come across someone else who can use it, a true Christian. And he promptly sent me an English version at no charge. And I can just imagine him doing that. I actually tried to get him on the program but he'd just started his decline into this health. And he said, I've got the emails back and forth. And he said, I'd really love to, but yeah, I've got a few health issues that are kind of holding me back a little bit. But we did chat about, and he essentially gave me permission, if I wanted to sell all his books in Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands, to be the distributor in this part of the world. And I didn't pursue it because at the time, so he would sell me the books at the distributor's price, and then I would sell them to retail outlets and to the general public in this part of the world. And maybe I'll pursue that. I might contact them still, because I'm pretty sure the offer would still be open. But at the time, I thought, look, people aren't really buying books, unfortunately, and it would have been a few $1,000s commitment to just get the material. And so I kind of said, look, can we pause that? But didn't really, I didn't really pick up on it again. But in the conversations back and forth, this notion of him being this amazing human just was apparent in the dialogue back and forth with him. There was no airs and graces, no higher moral ground, no piety. And yeah, it was real pleasure to chat with him. Angela has said, oh yes, Lying for God, a powerful book. The contributors for that book are all outstanding. And Mark Anthony says, I want EJ to write my eulogy. Mark, you've got a long way to go, haven't you? You've got a long way to go. Oh, dear. I said to my mum the other day, can you please write your own eulogy? I'm not good at that stuff. And she's laughing. She's got a long way to go, too. She's only 86. And Angela has also added, Colleen and Nikki's podcasts are great. And yes, they are fantastic. I did try and get Colleen onto the program, but that has been a bit paused as well. Just bringing them up here. Adrian Anderson here. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Dale Ratzlaff who published Des Ford's Glacier View manuscript within weeks of the event. Interesting. And Fred Simmons has written, I'm thankful Dale was a pathfinder and showed us ways to get out of the dead ends of Adventism. Yeah.
Amen.
Now, I'm still listening and going to be just out of view for a moment. I've just got to sort out a little holiday issue, which happened last time when you were with us, Colin. I will hear you. I'll be 2 meters away. I'm just going to quickly jump out of the screen for a minute and sort a little problem out, but I will hear everything you say, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. But Colin, can you just take over and share with us your thoughts, having been kind of someone that imbibed the whole Dale Ratzlaff ministry from outside and came into it, and Thunder, you kind of came into it and then helped to spread it out. So we're getting a different perspective. Colin, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Peter. And again, good evening to everybody from over here in Dayton, Ohio, USA. Man, I just, like I said, Peter was saying earlier, I did not know Pastor Dale personally, but I was able to really be affected by the ripple effect, as Thunder mentioned earlier, right? Real quick, and you can't give a preacher a microphone and be like, all right, I'll be right back. It's hard to do. But just real quick, I'm not going to preach, but I just wanted to read something. Exodus chapter 3 is familiar to most of us, if not all of us on the chat tonight, where God is standing in the burning bush, talking to Moses. He's calling Moses to speak on behalf of him towards Pharaoh, to release the people of Israel out of Egyptian slavery. And in chapter 4, it starts off, and I'm just going to read 1.5 verses here. It says, then Moses answered, after the back and forth with God, what if they won't believe me and will not obey me, but say the Lord did not appear to you? And verse 2a, the first clause says, the Lord asked him, Moses, what is that in your hand? And he has a staff in his hand. The whole story, right? But what is it that you have in your hand? And I can imagine listening and watching to Dale over the years, last several years anyway, just kind of being an audience member, just listening to that he had a testimony. He loved the church, realized that the church was wrong in some things. And when he brought up his concerns, he probably felt alone. Probably felt a little bit like a Moses would have felt, like nobody else understands, and having a concern in his hand, if you will, having a thought about when maybe something's not quite right about this thing, if you will, and bringing it to the powers that be. And it turns out, again, if you can watch his testimony, he'll tell you himself that there were those who were well aware of the problems that were part of the pillar doctrines, investigative judgment we talked about earlier, the plagiarism of Ellen White and other things of that nature, like serious theological problems that have serious repercussions. And unfortunately, some of the people that he brought his concerns to knew. Some were deceived, and some were, the deceivers, if you will, and it's kind of interesting to watch that testimony play out, and how having those concerns for that length of time from there, and kind of sharing these things, leaving and just kind of imagining, okay, I'll just leave my family and so forth. And other people having the same concerns and going back and forth and having email conversations with other people. And well, maybe you should write about it, Dale, and God using that issue that he had and his commitment to integrity to kind of put that out there for the people to read and decide for themselves. That has, if you will, might have been like a pebble dropped in a puddle, or a pond or a lake or what have you. And the ripple effect goes deep. I'm just learning tonight about some of the details about the relationship between Thunder and Pastor Ratzlaff, and how the ripple effect has gone deep. I'm just learning by some people. I re-listened to some of the information that he put out himself way back on CA Answers. That's available on YouTube. I listened to the Former Adventist Fellowship, former Adventist podcast with Colin Seeker and Nikki Stevenson, and I can't remember Colin's husband's name, but he was on there too. And he talked about their experience with Dale and so forth like that, and just being able to share, just kind of scrolling through Former Adventist podcast, their YouTube channel. All of their videos are averaging like 500 plus views or more, some of the 2.1K and above, views. And it's not just about numbers necessarily. It is about the ripple effect, because sometimes people will listen to it and be like, I don't believe it. Other people will listen to it and, it'll be like, oh, maybe I should investigate. And they won't. Some people will listen to it and they'll investigate, and they will get to study on, and find their way elsewhere. So the ripple effect goes deep, for a lot of things, and I think that as Christians, I think what we see in Mr. Ratzlaff ministry, is a microcosm of what the church is supposed to be doing as a whole. Each one reach one, each one teach one. We all have, and Pastor Thunder is a pastor. I'm an associate pastor at the local assembly that I serve as well, and all of us have, as Christians, have the mandate to be disciple makers. So whether or not you have a microphone in your hand, on a weekly basis, or you're leading Bible study at your home, or whatever the case is, then it really doesn't matter. You have a responsibility to your family. You have a responsibility to those around you to understand the gospel, and to be able to articulate it, in a way that, people can hear from the Lord, and at least be, the Lord can use you to draw them to Himself. And I know from my first interactions with seeing Pastor Ratzlaff on YouTube and other places, and reading the blogs on life assurance and so forth like that, it inspired me to be a little bit more open. I have done a lot of things on YouTube for a very short period of time. I think my first video I put out was like maybe 2017 or something like that. And it was in general apologetics. And he was on my channel on a little bit earlier, but the BK Apologist, he and I are very good friends as well. And he came to do a conference at our church, and he was like, "Man, you should do some more stuff on SDA." I'm like, "Yeah, nobody wants to hear about that," And here we are, some years later, and through this channel, I met Thunder, through this channel. And again, Thunder and I have been able to talk almost daily for the last several years now.
Big brother.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Through so through these things, people like Miles from shout out to Answering Adventism, we talk almost daily, about various things, and
That's
sharing
the
ideas,
prophet.
and
That's
text,
the prophet.
we text back and forth, all kinds of folks, and Solo Scripture 21, and many others, that we just we share these things, and we're hey brother, what's going on? It's in the chat now. So these are things that we are able to share with one another, and it's been interesting. I'll say one last thing before I go. When I left, it's been about 20 years since I left the SDA church, and for especially back in the dark ages here of the internet and chat groups and stuff like that, like I didn't get a Facebook page until like 2009. So imagine that, I leave in like 2003 or whatever it was, and 2003, 2004, whatever it was, I left, and just not knowing what to do. There's no place to go.
Yeah.
There's nobody there's nobody to really talk to, at that point in time. And I had a cell phone, but I didn't have internet access like on my phone. Like that's how old it was. Like, if those in the US, if you remember Singular Wireless, I had a brick Nokia phone, Singular Wireless, so like, it was like that kind of time, and you just felt completely alone, and it turns out that one of the persons that I used to work with, I'm searching on the internet and looking for things that does anybody leave SDA? I'm like, what do you do? And it just so turns out that a person I used to work with for a very short period of time at an SDA hospital, no doubt, had a small group of people that were meeting at a home on Saturday afternoons and doing some Bible study. Turns out it was like a small conclave of former Adventists,
Wow.
And that helped. It was very, very short period of time that I was able to kind of hang out with them, and just the fellowship that was there, the camaraderie that was there, was great, and so I didn't feel alone,
Wow.
And I said all that to say this, that the former Adventist fellowship, some of the groups, the former SDA groups online, on especially on Facebook, where I do most of my online stuff, they're thriving. you know, and the community is there. Answering Adventism, like I said, a huge website. It's phenomenal. It's beautiful, as well too, aesthetically pleasing, as well as the content. It's fire, and all of the things I say that there's community that's available. The called out ones, the church, the true church of God. You know, we're here. You know, we're worldwide. You know, it is something that we all can share together. You know, with this community. I salute Dale Ratzlaff, you know, for what he's done, the bravery that it took to do this. Again, Nikki and Colleen, their podcast is phenomenal. You know, and even older, some of the other stuff that's been around, like non-EGW, or not non-EGW, I think the website is, and Armchair Theologian, and all these other websites that are out there may not have the notoriety right now that they used to have at one point or at some point in time, but they're there. You know, the resources are there, guys. And even if you are not a former Adventist, check it out.
Yeah.
You know, truth will stand up to scrutiny, and if there is any untruth there, it'll be exposed.
Yeah.
Right. If there is truth there to be found, you do your due diligence to find it. All right. So that said, man, I pray that this will be a blessing. And we honor your memory, sir. You know, and we'll do all that we can to continue and carry the torch.
Oh, thanks so much, Colin. Really appreciate that. You raise a very interesting point there, and yeah, Colin's had to go, but he's click back on anytime you want, Colin. He's raised an interesting point there, that not only are there many places such as the ones we've mentioned that people can go to learn about information and about different topics, but there's also this kind of camaraderie that has been growing up around as well. So you not only go to places to gain knowledge and wisdom, you actually make some friends as well. Former Adventist Fellowship, I'm pretty sure they have chapters all over the world. I know there's one here in Australia. I've been trying to get in touch with Alan, his name is, that runs it here, who doesn't live too far from me, and when I left the church, I know I reached out to them, and they were really helpful in helping me there. I mentioned yesterday in my interview with George Tichy that the Adventist church itself offers no pastoral care to people who leave the church. It's like, if you've left, we don't want to have anything to do with you. You're got an axe to grind. You're not, fit for our church. Whereas former Adventist Fellowship, as I was saying, Colin, I think they have chapters all around the world, and there's one definitely here in Australia. They provide that pastoral care to help those who have left, because there's all sorts of identity issues that you go through. It's so nice to gather together with other people and go, oh, you've been through this before. I think in our interview, Colin, back there's a few episodes ago, I mentioned, I wish I'd had some kind of support to leave as long ago as you did. Like you're over 20 years now. I'm just coming up to 8 years, and there's a bit of turbulence when you leave. So it's just fantastic to have, as I said, not only places where you can gain knowledge and wisdom, you can actually make friends. I'm just going to bring up Answering Adventism. Miles is watching, and he's giving a shout out there, and I'm bringing that up so people can go and find his website and incredible YouTube channel, weekly programs in there. You guys are often on his show, and also Test the Prophet. I tell you what, the incredible resources there on Ellen White from Test the Prophet. Go and check that out. What's Mark Anthony said here? The best video I've seen of Colin is his systematic refutation of Black Israelite theology. Where can people go to see that one, Colin?
That would be
There's tons more.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah, I got a couple on my channel. You'll have to check it out. I got a Hebrew Israel. I got a couple playlists. So, if you check out the playlists, if you go to my channel on YouTube, then the playlists are available there. Yeah, so there's plenty. I also have shameless plug, if you will. I have a playlist called SDA Fact or Fiction. I keep adding videos. They're not all mine; some are mine. But there's well over 100 and probably 30 videos or more now.
Wow.
Yeah, facts. There's probably 130 plus videos. Some are views, some are thunder, some are interviews I've done with people, some are my own teaching, stuff like that. Of people who have had questions that need to be asked, about Seventh-day Adventism. So if you're looking for like just something to kind of, well, I have questions, or this can't be wrong, check it out, and and you decide. You decide.
That's great. Mark Anthony added, that was years ago when he was a young man. And Stephen Coe has written, "We will miss Brother Dale." Others have written, Angela has written, "Welcome, Miles." Angela's going to be on the show here in a few weeks' time. And Miles has invited me on his show. I'm really looking forward to that, with fear and trepidation, to be interviewed instead of interviewing. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'll put my foot in it for sure. But I think that's in February sometime. Good to see you here, Miles.
You got to bring the kettlebells, Peter.
Hey, they're never far away.
Yes, sir.
I've been training every day since. So thanks all listening at a distance, says Miles. Stephen Jackson has written, "Praying for Dale's family during this difficult time." That's an important thing to remember, that the family are grieving right now. Miles has said, "Colin, we need to spin you up answering BHI." What's that one?
Oh, the Black Hebrew Israelites.
Oh, right.
Oh boy, which incidentally is not a far leap from Seventh-day Adventism. So that's
interesting.
Another story for another day. But
and we've got 61 Lone Viking. "What we formers all have in common is we had to deconstruct the SDA faith and rebuild into a Christian faith." Yeah, that deconstruction thing. That's an important element. I deconstructed in different ways to most of the former Adventists, and but there's deconstruction went on nevertheless, and it's not easy. I didn't realize that it was going to be hard, and I feel like I'm lucky that I was kind of a part from a very young age. When I started learning guitar, I stumbled across Jimi Hendrix and J.J. Cale and Stevie Ray Vaughan and a whole bunch of these blues, classic rock guys. And I felt like as I became a guitarist and started performing and meeting other musicians, that I became part of the worldwide music nation kind of thing. And so when I left the church, I think it was easier because I already had an identity in the broader community of the world as a musician. And but still, a couple of years after leaving the church, I was like, "Oh, why? What's going on in my head? There's something weird going on." And I now know it was this kind of sense of identity that had been wrapped up in the Adventist belief system, that when removed, because it so integrates into your mind and so placates your sense of reason and logic and suppresses your emotions in many ways, it indoctrinates you to such a degree that you don't realize how much you are intertwined with it. And so a couple of years after leaving, I was like, who am I? So luckily I just picked up my guitar and started playing Hey Joe and a few songs like that, and it brought me back. But I wish that the Adventist church had an arm or a branch or something that would reach out to people and put all their bias and their we're right, you're wrong aside, and just say, are you okay? How you going? We understand this could be hard for you. But they don't. So we,
Yeah,
That's not
I'll say
possible.
that that can't happen,
yeah,
and the reason that it can't happen is because of the eschatological framework, right? It's always us versus them,
yes,
right? The
exactly.
fact that the
100%.
term non-Adventist even
Yeah.
exists, right, tells you this is very wrong,
Mm,
right? Whatever's going on, it's not. Oh well, we're Christian brothers and sisters. Yeah, we say that, but we really understand what the deal is. At some point in time,
100%.
when Satan impersonates Christ, all the rest of us who've left the Seventh-day Adventists, our eyes are going to roll back in our heads, and then we're going to be following Satan with pitchforks and trying to kill SDAs. Like, that's what the
Yeah.
eschatological framework says.
Uh,
We all know
yeah.
it, so stop hiding it.
And they
Right?
even say that
Like,
we'll turn on each other. Children will turn
right,
on their parents.
right.
Right.
It's just
So one
such,
one of the
It's
one one
bizarre. Yeah.
yeah,
one of the beautiful things though, Peter, and especially right now, I see that it is much easier for a questioning or transitioning of from Adventists who would have left the church
yeah,
to be stabilized faster, to not go through as much trauma and the raid stage and
yes,
broken and dissociative syndromes and all kinds of stuff that some of us would have gone through because of the community that Dale Ratzlaff has
yes,
inspired and created.
yeah,
So
yeah,
with the creation of Former Adventist Fellowship and Life Assurance Ministries and the others around it, what I see that has happened in my experience is that when an individual discovers a former Adventist or runs into someone online who's a former Adventist questioning or whatever the case may be, there's a rallying around that person, and
mm,
there's a sharing of a lot of information and journeying with the person to help them to sanity, to
mm,
help them understand that all is not lost. There's hope for you. God is able to restore and that kind of stuff. Not to mention the multiplicity of resources that are now available
yes,
to
yeah,
help people properly process through all of the different baggages of Seventh-day Adventism.
mm,
And of
mm,
course, also, as CMB was saying earlier, the brother and sisterhood, the camaraderie, genuine friendship and camaraderie
yeah,
too, that it creates
Yeah.
among those who have left. I mean, people would hardly know that just about all of us who are prominent former Adventists and apologists or content creators who put materials out there to help people to deal with Adventism, we're all interconnected in some way.
mm,
We talk
Yeah.
behind the scenes, we have good rapport, we
yeah,
vet each other's work. I kid you not, all of my
mm,
books, a variety of format. CMB is on every one of my books.
mm,
Well, except the first one from the Sabbath Street, everything, right? Answering Adventism Miles, as he says, we're there, and you have no idea that when he's preparing to do something or he finds something, we have our group and he runs it by us. Test the Prophet, same thing.
yeah,
Hey, Thunder, I'm thinking about producing a video on this with this approach or this. Would you, we run things by each other. What are the
mm,
weaknesses you see here? And you see what
mm,
I'm saying? And what it
I
does
see.
is it refines our work so that what we put out there is solid, digestible, almost irrefutable, essentially material.
Yeah,
You have this wealth of resources of persons you're working with, professionals,
mm,
intellectuals, and if you read the endorsements for the volumes 1, 2, and 3, usually some highly critical, lettered people. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
PhDs, former Adventist, non-Adventist scholars, and lay persons and critical people who have been in wide spectrum of Adventism. And what that does is that, and of course, my editor, William Holman, a genius, very humble, but a genius, right? And what that does is that it ensures that you're not putting foolishness out there. So when you put something out there to say these are the issues, you would have run it through at least 10 to 15 eyes and
who
ears,
have
or
got your
even
back.
more.
Yeah,
You
people who
know,
have got your back.
Colin Tinker is on several of them too. I run them by her, and Cheryl and Kevin Hughes. There's so many. Dr. Angela Lima, so many highly capable people. And we all work together in various ways to keep the friendship going, to keep each other encouraged, and of course, to ensure that whatever it is we're doing or feel inspired to do to help persons as they transition, it is solid. And I find that people overcome the traumas of SDA much faster because of the resources that are there. You know, Miles Channel, CMB, myself, and one after the other, Test the Prophet. And sometimes somebody email or message me and they're telling me about these guys or whatever, and they're so elated and like, you know, he's my friend. I'm like, you know,
talking every day.
He's my friend. You know, or the video you're watching, you know, XYZ, you know, we discussed this, that, you see what I'm saying? It's like that, just that background, you know, info and just that closeness. You know, some of us talk almost every day, even if we don't, a week left, it doesn't matter. We're close friends.
Yeah.
We help each other in tangible ways when necessary too. And the list goes on. And it's beautiful. It helps us to really find ourselves, find our identity, and of course, settle somewhere in a safe space, you know, Christian church, where we can be nurtured and the list goes on, etc.
Yeah, one of the things
it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, one of the things I've had
all of that is because of Dale Ratzlaff.
Yeah, he really started the whole former Adventist fellowship notion, not just former Adventist resource, but the fellowship. And as you've just been saying, Thunder, you guys continue that on. You have fellowship together, and it's beautiful to see. And I one of the differences with my platform as opposed to you guys is I'm not being as overt with saying, hey, come out of her. I'm saying, sure, if you stay, you stay. If you don't, you don't. But I do get a lot of messages thanking me for normalizing it's okay to leave the church. Someone said to me the other day in an email, I didn't leave the church because of you, but because you normalized it, that, hey, he left, he's okay, he's surviving. It made it a choice that they could do that if they wanted to as well. But I do hope that I draw attention to people's into their line of sight how crazy the doctrines are. I do hope that's coming across.
Peter, if I may say before I forget to, your work on what you do, it is phenomenal.
Oh wow!
In fact, and I love the beauty of it, because when I look into it, there's no former Adventist that I'm aware of that has created the platform and the approach that you have taken.
Oh,
You're the only one who does these interviews, and you do them indiscriminately. It doesn't matter who you are in Adventism, who have you been, and it's beautiful because it shows the wide spectrum of Adventism, and that is healthy for people as well. They learn, they experience, they grow, and the hard stuff I talked about, and it's just a variety of stuff. I'm not aware of anybody else who takes the journalist and interview approach to form Adventists or current Adventists. You know, just anything that deals with Adventism, come and let's talk about it. Present your views and let's discuss. And I mean, you're the only one who has that platform, and it's amazing. A lot of individuals have discovered a lot of us and different materials. It's coming across your material. You interviewed this person, and then that led them on a rabbit trail, you know. And we appreciate that too, because it shows us the various, the multi-chromatic nature of Adventism, the various flavors and personalities and issues and people and this, that, and the other, and various contexts from which they came or are, etc. And we commend you for it and we
Oh,
appreciate it
wow. Thank you.
that you have created that, because it's helping a lot of people as well.
Oh, I really appreciate that coming from you. That's high praise indeed. Thank you very much. And I think one of the good things about allowing a broad range of people on the program is the people who may never have heard of Hiding in Plain Sight or Dale Ratzlaff or Colin, or, you know, Answering Adventism and Test the Prophet and all the other ones we've been mentioning, they would never have heard of them because they're living in a bit of an echo chamber. But as they come on the show, they have to be exposed to the other people I also bring onto the show. So thank you for that. I'll bring up a couple more comments here and then we'll wrap things up. But I'm really pleased that people are writing in the comments, and I'm glad we got the Facebook working again by today. This is beautiful to see all this new generation of people sharing Christianity to all and lovingly to the SDAs, of which we all have graciously been delivered from. And Angela has written, in Christian rock, nobody beats Lincoln Brewster. And this is Lucy Figures, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Lucy. She has said she'd like to share her testimony, so I'll read what's on the screen and then a little bit off the screen there. I just want to give my testimony. Dale was the first former SDA that I came across once doubt started regarding SDA doctrine. That's interesting that as people begin to doubt, they yearn to find out information, and she stumbled across Dale's, which sounds like your story, Thunder. You're doing your course, and midway through the course, you're like, hang on a second. And then you stumbled across Dale. Well, I stumble, I use, maybe it wasn't stumbled. I never heard the gospel preached by an SDA, but that's interesting too, by a SDA, but the truth of Christ and his salvation that he spoke of has lit a fire in me. I'll just find where the rest of that in me, and I'm on a path of reading my Bible without SDA theology hovering over my head. Please pray for me. I want to be a bold witness for Christ like Mr. Dale Ratzlaff. Thank you, Lucy. Appreciate that.
Beautiful testimony.
I'm just reading. I'm bringing this up without reading them. So David 12:21. He's commented on someone else's comment. Exactly. Praise God. I had 40 years in a Baptist church before being misled into SDA and then getting out. A lot of people who do leave Adventism weren't born into it, I've noticed. It's harder for people who are generational Adventists to leave. It's a bit more difficult, I've noticed. And Adventist Analyzer has written, Adventist eschatology overlooks all of those prophecies and their horrors as fulfilled in the Jewish war with Rome. That was what they are mostly about.
Can I address something you just mentioned, Peter?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, yeah. So you mentioned just kind of like the people that are born into it, most for like I'm third generation, right? And most of us, most of my family are still Seventh-day Adventists. I have family that is clergy, and Adventist, church friends that are went to school with that are theology majors and so forth like that. And those kinds of things. I say theology majors, we graduated years ago, but you get the idea. They're pastors now, some work for the conference and so forth like that, and so they're steeped in it, and so for me to leave, I literally had to leave everything, right?
Exactly.
So
that's why it's harder.
When Christ is talking about, those who won't leave mother and father, for me, or put their hands on the plow and then look back, they're not fit for the kingdom. I have to take that extremely seriously.
Yeah,
because it has cost me.
It has cost you.
It has cost me family relationships, like close family. So this is one of those things that it is. I'm all in.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm putting my lot with Christ.
Yeah.
You were talked with Mr. George yesterday, and you mentioned about like how, like, say an Anglican or a Baptist, when they
Yes.
leave,
Yeah,
it's no skin,
that's
right?
right.
When we leave,
Big. Yeah. Oh, it's big.
we're risking hell
Yeah, exactly.
to go down to
Yeah.
another church. Imagine that,
Yeah.
right?
Well, my town here,
Yeah.
Kurrambong, which is right next to Avondale University now, it's called, is a very high Adventist population. And when I left, publicly, I wrote on my wall, I've said this before, but this is my last Sabbath as a Seventh-day Adventist. That week after that, I'd walk down the street, down the shops, and people literally crossed the road to the other side as I was coming. And I've had experience. I've had experience in being ostracized
Oh,
before
man.
for
Oh man.
playing music that they didn't like or whatever. So I just crossed the road as well. And then they'd go back, and I'd just cross the road. And then I'd just say, "Hey, how you going?" Just keep it friendly.
That's right.
But you're right.
You don't catch those former SDA cooties there, buddy.
You're so right. The difficulty, if you're born into it, generational Adventist, there's a price to pay. There's a price to pay. So, but, I hope that people see that people like myself, you, Thunder, have survived and wouldn't change a thing, ultimately.
That's correct.
No.
And just bringing up Rose Power, sadly, the Adventist Church does not want to know those who leave, as they fear they may be given a bad label. That's interesting. I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Norm Young, who was there at Glacier View, had a huge role to play, that he was kind of thrown under the bus a little bit and manipulated with, but he lives just near me, an amazing person. He's very involved with the E14 Sabbath School here at Avondale, and he was one of two that actually did visit me face to face and offered wonderful, just friendly, and he's like 89 in the shade. And so, yeah, they're few and far between, but there are people out there that don't care what other people think and will support you. So just a shout out to him for doing that. Just bringing up James. Is it Andres? I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I get mine wrong too. Thanks for everything, Test and MC, and blessings on the superb Dale Ratzlaff. Yeah. Stephen Coe has written, Test the Prophet. We love you, brother. And he's also written, Brother Miles, so glad you came along to serve the cause. And there's lots of comments going over to your paired site too, which is amazing. Thanks. The Test the Prophet has said, Peter, your interviews are beautiful. Thank you for spending all this time to provide this resource for all of us. Thank you, Test the Prophet. One day I'll find out who you are. I know you guys know, but one day I'm going to find out who you are.
Yes, we know.
Can you do a reveal on my show? That would be so good.
We know.
Do a reveal.
He's a great guy, man.
That's
Very,
going
very
to
great
blow
guy.
the internet to pieces. Test the Prophet. I'll advertise a month ahead. Test the Prophets are coming. Thank you for that. Oh, and Miles had said something. Yes, Peter, this is called your hedgehog concept. No one else is doing your thing. So be the best at that. Thank you, Miles. Appreciate that. Look, I'm just getting some nice comments. I'll bring them up while I can. That is so true. SDAQ&A interviews some really interesting, highly qualified and experienced people. Adverse Analyzer, Peter's the Nobel Peace Prize candidate.
I second that.
Agreed.
It's funny. I'm born with a phlegmatic kind of warm, pleasant face, and I can sometimes be really angry on the inside, but I'm coming across as still, yeah, okay,
That's funny.
Here we're bringing up Kurt Brower. And by the way, I'm seeing some new names here. So it's probably via you guys that are subscribing to the YouTube channel. So thank you for that. So thankful for Dale Ratzlaff's courage to share his story and research for those of us digging deeper and coming out of SDA. His legacy is reflected in the outstanding work of those gathered here. Wow, that's great.
Amen.
And thank you, Fred. Pete's gift is listening, though in the real world, no one would agree with that. Certainly my wife.
Yeah, it's funny. EJ had mentioned earlier about the variety of people that you have, and I remember the like he's so articulate, right? And he has like these words that sometimes when I was looking at the manuscripts for the books, I'm like, what the heck is that? The vocabulary is massive. Like, I promise I went to grad school, but I wasn't an English major. I have no idea what this guy just said. So it's one of those things it makes you laugh.
I have to sit here with a thesaurus.
Yeah, and you're just looking at the diversity. I'm like, man, it's a house of cards, man. It's just say what it is, man. It's the clown car, and that's why I can't have your platform, Peter. So
you don't suffer
very,
fools like I do.
gracious and stuff like that. I'm just like, and smack around a little bit.
Yeah, you'll just you'll just aim for the jugular.
There you go.
Although someone I had on the show gave me a nickname that's a bit derogatory, and I'm not ever going to share it because I said to him, if I ever hear someone say that, I'll know that it came from you gossiping about me. But it's a name I'd love to share, man, because it kind of does capture a little bit of what I do that people don't notice so much. But I'll leave that for another time. So we've got Stephen Jackson. Wow, that speaks volumes to the pressure of SDA theology and culture. Not too sure what. That people ostracize. Yeah. Doesn't it? It says so much.
Yeah, you're shocked.
Yeah,
lose everything.
Dale Ratzlaff said somewhere. He said there's no former Anglican or former Baptist fellowship or former there's only former Mormons, former Jehovah's Witnesses, and former
SDAs. Yep.
So that has got to say something. That has got to say something.
And when you look into the history, they are sister cults.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
nice.
Stephen has said, can they imagine Jesus avoiding someone by crossing the street? Yeah. That particular person that I kept going back and then said hi, I saw them again later in a cafe nearby, and I literally just got up and went and sat at their table. I said, how's things? And they were so uncomfortable. But, I just persisted, and they're friends with me again now.
Nice.
What's this? James has said, come to Loma Linda, February 17, Peter. There's a former SDA conference, is there? Do you guys know about that?
Yeah, they have it every year. For my Adventist fellowship gathering.
Oh, I'd love to come to that.
Yeah, every year they have it.
Oh, really?
I've never gone though because of my, where I live.
Yeah, you're a bit far away.
But I occasionally watch them presentations, the testimonies, etc.
Yeah, maybe we can watch the videos of that. But if James, if you could send me some info about that, I will plug it on the platform. Former Scientologists, I don't think there are because they're too scared. There's such an active group to destroy people financially and reputationally within the Scientologists. So they just go all quiet. They leave and don't talk about it.
I know of one prominent one, Leah Remini. She used to be on a TV show called King of Queens. So she's a comedic actress primarily, but she's very vocal about it, and they let her have it. So she's They really do, from what I've
Yeah.
seen anyway, try to destroy people in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And they're fairly aggressive about it,
Yeah.
including physical violence, so depending on what documentaries you watch. But I know that most of us have been slandered in some way, shape, or form.
Mm. Yeah. I can imagine.
And too bad for them. I really don't care. Like my name's been mud before most of y'all were born, so I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And I recognize that what Christ talks about with with all of us, being persecuted is par for the course for the kingdom of God, right? What we do, many SDAs would view as persecution, and some lash out in terms of the ad hominem attacks that we talked about many times before and we've experienced. And again, shout out to Answering Adventism. Check out the Hate Mail show; it's amazing. For the
Wow.
all the mean tweets and emails and stuff.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Is that on the
Oh, it's
website?
great.
Is it?
It's comedy. Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the website, I believe, and also on the
That's fantastic.
on Miles' channel, Answering Adventism.
Right.
So that hate mail show
I might
was
do
hilarious.
a reaction video to some of those one day, and some of mine as well.
Yeah, but we're not scared of that.
Awesome.
I believe what Christ said. People will accuse you falsely and revile you for my name's sake. It's okay. Sure, why not? Whatever.
Right.
And the thing of it is for as apologists, like from Christian apologists, we're gonna be telling the truth. And I'm almost never going to attack a person personally. Almost never. I have my limits, and sometimes I'll go there. You gotta pray for me, but I'm going for the doctrine first. And if you want to hold tight to the doctrine, you're gonna get your knuckles wrapped.
Exactly.
That's how that goes. So but yeah, that's kind of where that's at. And I just pray for people that they can see past all the nonsense, you know what I mean, and kind of get to the nitty gritty. What's the point that we're talking about, and the concern is souls. And if there was a way to do it with being nice all the time, then we'd be nice all the time. Sometimes we have to be a little rough in order for people to see. It's like if you're in a burning building and you need to wake up, someone might have to smack you from time to time to wake you up.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's in love.
Yeah, true. Exactly. Exactly. In fact, I said this yesterday. I said to a good mate of mine about 9-10 months before I left, I said, I'm not going to be an Adventist by my next birthday. And as I came up to the Friday before the Monday of my birthday, I realized, wow, I'd said that. And so it's just something in my brain, because I'd given myself a timeline, and birthday kind of indicates rebirth. I found myself sitting there for hours on the Friday, literally about 3:30 in the afternoon. And I finally pressed, I'd written, this is my last Sabbath as a Seventh-day Adventist. And then I pressed send, about 3 or 4 hours later, because it was just such an emotional moment. I was just sitting there, I'd written it, and my finger was literally hovering above the button on my phone. But if I go back to the 9 or 10 months before, one of the seeds for that was someone challenging me, really slapping me around. Like they were really hard on me. And I was defending myself, and I was fully trying to justify, and all the sort of stuff I've heard from other apologists was coming out of my mouth. But this person was rude, blunt, angry, not physically slapping me, but it really had an impact on me. So Colin is 100% right there. Sometimes you need to be slapped around a bit, and so I fully endorse if you guys do that. Okay, we're going to bring up maybe just 2 or 3 more. James has said, we'll email you tomorrow. Would dollars entice you to come? Yes, that would be fantastic. In fact, dollars thrown my way would be the only way I could come. So yeah,
It's
to me.
true.
Can you get me a little spot to share a little talk as well and promote the program? Stephen said, yes, you should go and participate. All of you would be great. So maybe someone can fund the 3 of us to go, and we'll do a little live SDA Q&A from there. Awesome. And bringing someone that's from your channel there, 21st Century Paul. Three-generation SDA here, but by the grace of God, using my wife, I've met the true Jesus of the Bible 5 years ago. Talk about going from dark to light. Great work you all put out, unmasking the lies. Thanks. And we'll just read one or two more, and then I'm just going to get you guys to close for us. Deanna, hey Deanna, good to have you here, watching from Tennessee. Always enjoy the discussions here. Look, and by the way, I go live now 3 times a week. I aim to do a short reaction video, 10 to 20 minutes long, on my Tuesday, your Monday evenings in America, and Wednesday, your Tuesday, and Thursday, your Wednesday. The shorter one, and then the middle going live, I aim to do about an hour, and then the long form on my Thursday or Wednesday. But I want to encourage people, just drop in and watch for 3 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever your brain is wired to concentrate on. Don't just think, oh, it's a 2.5 hour interview, I'm not going to watch anything. Just come in and watch for a little bit. We're all wired to either watch 1 minute, 3 minutes, 3 seconds, 1 hour, 20 minutes. Nothing's going to change that. So instead of just going, I'm going to not watch it because it's not 20 minutes, just tune in for 3 minutes, 3 seconds, whatever, because that really helps the algorithms. And I can guarantee you could pretty much drop into 10 minutes of any of these programs and there'll be something interesting there for you. So I encourage that you do that, not just for my show, but everybody's that we've been talking about today. So from the chats, we're going to finish with Chanel Allen. I think it's a beautiful one to go out on before we close. God bless Dale Ratzlaff. His legacy will live on. Amen. So just to kind of to conclude, and Dale's written here, great program. Thanks, Dale. Appreciate that. And we'll just quickly get Rose Power. Does any other church have former church member groups? Exactly. That's they don't.
Exactly.
They don't. And that, boy, that says a lot, doesn't it? That says a lot. So yeah, we'll maybe come back one day and have a chat about that. And also, I'd love to unpack with the both of you one day, and maybe Miles can join us on what Dale just said in the video at the start about the investigative judgment. Someone said, I liked hearing his take on the... No, everything he said there was footnoted from Adventist works, saying, official works, saying this is what. And in fact, I think he had made that available. So I'll try and get a copy of that exact script and the footnotes. I'd love to get you both back, and Miles, and unpack every little paragraph he says there, because there's some really interesting things that I think are easily disputed. But if you ask Adventists about if you ask Adventists about
that's going to be a 5-hour stream.
5 hours. But if you ask Adventists what the investigative judgment is,
with me, CMB, and Miles, and then you don't want no one to sleep. You want the 24-hour marathon.
We're going to do one of my midnight sessions. I've had 2 midnight sessions this week.
That's right.
And they're a lot of fun. So, yeah, we'll go midnight to dawn.
There you go.
So just in closing, and wow, my mouse has died. So I won't be able to end the show. So let me just plug it in to charge it and give you guys, hopefully I'll get a little bit of charge so I can end the program. Otherwise, I'll be sitting here for a little while. So I'm charging my mouse. You guys close off. Perhaps we'll give Colin, CMB, the ambassador, love that name. We'll give you a shot at just kind of wrapping up today's program. And then, Thunder, I'll give you the last word.
Well, again, good evening to everybody. It's nighttime here at the East Coast, or at the Midwest anyway. But I thank you again for inviting us on, Brother Peter. I really appreciate you, brother. It's great to have gotten to know you over the last year and change here, and certainly looking forward to doing more with you. Thunder, my man, always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we'll probably chat later.
Yeah.
And guys, new baby, beautiful, so in the family, just all God's blessings for all of you. And I thank you for us hanging with us, those that are watching still on the channel, and those that were able to come onto my platform and see it as well. God bless you all. What can you say, for a man like Dale Ratzlaff? Again, having not known him personally, I feel like I do know him a little, just from being from an outsider's perspective, and seeing how the Lord has blessed him and how the Lord has used him, and for him to invest in other people. You heard Thunder's testimony earlier. If you guys are just joining in, just make sure you guys check it out again, and see the whole thing where Thunder was giving his testimony about how Dale helped him get started, and what the ripple effect, again, that's what I'm going back to again, how that looked, and how that was, and it's still going, and going strong. Thunder did not mention this, but Thunder is also one of the contributors to Urban Apologetics, the second group in that, a second book in that group, and the subtitle is Cults and Cultural Ideologies.
Yes.
And his chapter on Seventh-day Adventism, it's very a small version of hiding in plain sight, so, so thank God for that, and that has gone out to a much wider audience as well too, published by Zondervan Publishing, so you can check that out. And so the contributions from a person sight unseen, seeing this young man, and I would imagine that the Lord told him, this is a person that you should invest in, and seeing how the Lord has used the talents of everybody that is attached to former Adventist Fellowship. So thank God for that. Thank God for the community that we have. And again, my commitment first and foremost is to the cross, the gospel of Christ. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, and I thank God for brothers like Dale Ratzlaff, and sisters like that have kind of followed his footsteps there, and we will continue to do so, until I made this commitment long ago. But till my last breath, I will be singing the Lord's praises and preaching His gospel.
Thanks, Colin.
Amen.
Appreciate you sharing that. Thunder.
Yeah, I had forgotten to mention, Dale not only impacted those of us who are from an Adventist context and culture, but also those who weren't, but still had those Sabbatarian legalistic baggages. If you go research, Dale is credited for his work is credited, especially Sabbath in Crisis when it was first published as that, is credited for being the document that caused the split of the Worldwide Church of God. That is the Armstrongites, Herbert W. Armstrong's organization, a granddaughter of Adventism. It is Dale Ratzlaff's Sabbath in Crisis that caused it to split.
That's amazing.
when they studied his material, and so his reach was not just for farmers and those from an Adventist context, but those who have legalistic tendencies and views about the Sabbath and the law as well have also been tremendously blessed by his work. And so the simple thing I'll say, brothers and sisters, we thank God for what he has done through the life of Dale Ratzlaff, a gentleman who had so much going on for him, studying his PhD at Adventist University, a teacher, pastor, years, and just his comfortable life, close to retirement. In fact, some were even trying to convince him to stay because he was near there, but to have the integrity to walk away from all of that, having your world collapse and so many coming down on you, but defying all the odds and following God's leading, and to just have the strength and tenacity to do that is truly amazing, and it speaks to the sincerity of him, his love for the Lord, and basically taking the harder blow, because to start something is much harder than when somebody picks up and builds on momentum. So he did the hard work in following the Lord in this way, And that has been such a blessing to us across the globe, Africa, Asia, Europe, smaller Caribbean nations like mine, and all over the world. His life, his sacrifice, his love for the Lord and truth is blessing and helping so many people. And so if God is leading you in this way to make steps and sacrifices like him, do it. It doesn't have to be in the same way that we do, like CMB and Peter, who are great content creators, or like me, who is gifted with the knowledge and the intellect and the writing skills to write. It doesn't have to be that way. It may be in other ways, supporting our ministries and getting them out there, or purchasing a few books and giving to people. I mean, there's so many ways that God can call you to be a part of his work in helping others. You have no idea how far that will go. And so I pray that all of us will seek to love the Lord that much, in spite of all that we have to lose, and the crushing blows we receive, and the friendships we lose, and finances, and our lives will turn upside down. In spite of that, be a Dale Ratzlaff. Go out on a limb, even if it pops with you, to say, I will stand for the truth, I will stand for the gospel, and I'm willing to start all over again, even if I am 50 years old, almost 60, as he was. I'm going to trust God and start again with the truth and let him lead. Let that be your conviction. And as we are seeing, you are not going to regret it. You're not going to lose. You have tons to gain and a lot to bless when you follow the Lord that way, in the way that our brother Dale Ratzlaff did. And so we thank God for him. We praise God for the strength, the courage, the resistance that he put up against, to do what he did, to be what he became, to produce what he produced, and to be the person that he was, to have helped so many of us. And now so many all over the world, some we will never see, meet, or know in this life, who will come into a better understanding of God, the gospel, the kingdom of God, and be saved, and we'll meet in eternity. And it all can be traced back to Dale, who was the center of this concentric circle, who God used to begin this thing. So God bless you. Think about these things.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, everyone, for watching. And let me just see if my mouse is charged enough. Otherwise, you can all go, and I'll have to. Well, it hasn't. That is the most bizarre thing that has ever happened.
Get all the bells. Get all the bells. Get all the bells.
I don't even think it's there's no light.
You gotta hold it up until the mouse charges up, Peter.
Yeah. So it's charging, but no lights coming on.
Peter, this is going to teach you to have a cord one on standby. Have a cord one on standby you can plug in.
Oh my goodness! And you can't end the show you're in, can you? You can only leave.
Yeah, I can only leave.
I have never had that happen before. So, well, thank you, everyone. I might sit here and just keep reading some comments, but we'll officially end until my battery is charged. We've got here, I need all 3 volumes of Hiding in Plain Sight. Keep bringing
Lord. God works in mysterious ways.
I tell you.
So I'll just sit here. We're officially finished, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Thank you so much to my guests, Thunder and the Ambassador. And I look forward to chatting to you guys more. So you feel free to leave the room when you like, and I'll just sit here and read a few of the questions until the mouse charges. And if it doesn't charge, I guess I can force quit, shut the computer, and that'd probably end it, wouldn't it?
And it will shut it down.
Yeah.
Blessings to you, gents. Love and blessings as always. Take
See you guys.
Good night, everybody. Happy New Year to y'all.
Yes, Happy New Year. See you guys later. And so that was a very special program there, remembering Dale Ratzlaff, or Dale Ratzlaff Remembered. My mouse has gone flat. Someone just wrote that they chatted to Dale on the phone. That's great. Angela has just written, Amen, Thunder. Cindy Lou has said, I'm just reading your comments until my battery charges and I can end the program. Otherwise, I'll try and force quit. What is the force quit again on a Mac? Is it Control Option Escape? Cindy Lou has written, may God comfortable and send healing light to all gathered here. Blessed be. And may God comfort, get thee behind me, autofill. Test the Prophet, it says, Peter, you can try hitting Command Q to quit the browser. And that should then end the show, shouldn't it? Kurt Bauer has written, I'll buy you a corded mouse. Thank you. I'm just going to write this down. Command Q. Right. I'll try that in just a minute. Thank you, Test the Prophet. And you're all welcome to disappear and say farewell, but I'll just read a couple of these, give my mouse a chance, and if not, I'll do the Command Q or the whatever it is, the Control Option Escape, I think it is. Unplug the computer. Yes, that's a good idea. Turn the computer off, Peter. You can also navigate with your keyboard. Oh, can I? You have to tell me how to do that, Stephen Jackson. Stephen Coe has written, hey, Peter, you guys were great. Thank you, Stephen. Really enjoyed today. We will keep you company until your mouse comes back on. Thank you, Adventist Analyzer. Tell us a bit about yourself. Have you got your own YouTube channel that you do this kind of stuff on? Mark Anthony has said Command Q. Cool. Command is the button to the left of the space bar. Thank you, Test the Prophet. And good night to you too. Look forward to think about coming on the show and revealing who you are, because one day you're going to have to, surely. Rose has said, hey, Peter, you should do a session just on how to transition from church member to being a Christian outside the church. As in have guests on to interview. My story is boring, so and it's a little bit more nuanced and complex than that one. But I would love to chat to people about that, the transitioning period. That's a really good suggestion, Rose. You can hold down the power button, I believe. Yes, that's a good idea. Carl's put his link to his channel there. I recommend everyone go and check that out. Thank you, Carl. Carl Wagner. Go and check out Carl's Chronicles. On a personal note, Peter, says Stephen Coe. Is it Coe or Coe? Coe? I am involved with a ministry in Nashville, and it is founded by an Australian guitar player, songwriter, and would love for you to visit and play with the group. I would love that. So you meet every Friday your time? Ah, nice. Someone has written, Kelly Byrne. Hey, Kelly. Look forward to catching up with you soon when you're back in town. I got your message yesterday. I miss Rejuve Cafe. This sounds like a Rejuve relaxed cafe chat conversation. It is like last night. I haven't deleted that the Facebook thing because there's some pretty funny insights and comments that people were having as they were helping me. And Rose has said, yeah, need a panel of people. Great idea, Rose. Great idea. We'll do a transition from Adventism to Christian outside the church. I think that is a much needed program. Thank you, Rose, because a lot of people don't know what to expect. I started a Facebook group called Leaving Adventism for members who had left to be able to network. But it's just a group and no one really talks because there's such a varied bunch of experiences. But if we start the conversation here, I think that'd be really effective. Collins, watching from somewhere. Thanks for having us on, Peter, mate. So good. I love having you on the show, and Thunder. Yeah, it's awesome. You guys are amazing. Angela has said, get Pastor Mark Martin. Now, he's involved with Life Assurance Ministries, isn't he? And proclamation, I think. And look, George Tisha yesterday has done a great job at contacting a few people to be on the show, asking them on my behalf. If you're watching and you'd like people on the show, ask on my behalf would be great. And then I can kind of communicate with them and pick a date. Have you noticed the changes in the background of the studio, by the way? All the drapes in the background are new ones. And I've organized my books a little bit better. See here? And those two little red horns are a Fender Stratocaster split in half to make bookends. So they're not devil's wings coming up on my shoulders. Yes, so Mark Martin would be great to have on the program. There's still quite a lot of people watching. We're officially finished. I've got nothing left to say other than just reading the comments. But it's nice just having a chat. Feel free to write something. Any questions? This might be your chance to ask me some hard questions. Put me on the spot. Now, he is a former who pastors Calvary Chapel in Arizona with 12,000 members. Okay, yeah. Then maybe you could reach out to him for me, Angela. Books are decoration, or did you read them? Well, let me have a look. Yeah, I've read at least 3/4 of those, Mark Anthony. I love reading. I'm a reader. I read my way out of Adventism. Okay, let's see if the mouse is charging. And if not, no, nothing at all. So I'm going to try and power off. So it'll be a very unusual ending without fanfare and the closing scenes. Thank you, Mark Anthony. Wow, good for you. Yeah, I've read hundreds of books. Before my eyes, they're not deteriorating, but I have trouble reading unless the light's just right. And I don't really, I love reading Kindle stuff, but again, it's kind of a bit uncomfortable. I love books. And I'm going in for the eye surgery, not LASIK or LASAK or whatever it's called. It's where they remove the lens and replace it with a kind of a plastic one. My sister-in-law's had it done, and she said it is incredible. She can read, she can focus close, in, out, long distance. So I'm going to go for that, and that will kick off my book reading again. I would often have 5 books on the go at the same time, and I'd read a chapter, read another chapter, read a chapter, and then I loved it. I love audiobooks. I love audiobooks. I'm constantly, when I'm driving, constantly listening to audiobooks. Mark Anthony, you'd like to interview me someday? Yes, I would be very interested in that. What's your platform? Where can I go and see some of your work? Walsh has said grace and peace. Someone has said cataract surgery. No, it's not cataract. If it was, I'd be able to get it for free on my healthcare card. But it's just simple vertical stigmatism or something like that. Can you do the lens surgery as selective surgery? No, unfortunately. Oh, Mark Anthony, right here. Sure, I'd love that. Can I ask questions of you and we go back and forth like a conversation? Someone, Carl has written, Martin was an associate pastor at the Glendale Church when he left. Oh, interesting. And someone has written, I don't know who it is. Love the idea of listen when you can. Bad reception, came back in. All I got was God bless you, and then lost signal. So you're right. 10 seconds, 5 hours, all good. Okay, Mark. Well, let's plan a conversation time. I'm trying the mouse one more time, but yeah, I should have. It's just not charging at all, I don't think. the charger is working. I just tried it on my iPad. And one last try here. Oh, it's working again. Okay, I can officially end without turning off the computer. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, you don't need to watch the last bit of this interview if you're watching again. But thanks so much for watching. And our main focus today has been Dale Ratzlaff, Remembered, a great human being. And I encourage people to go and just type in Dale Ratzlaff, Ratzlaff, into Google or YouTube, and you will come across so much material that is incredible. So until next time, everybody, we're back next week. Who knows with who? And yeah, see you then. Farewell.